Welcome to the Cast and Camo podcast, where we talk about hunting, fishing, and all things outdoors. Grab your fishing rod, put on your favorite camo, or just sit back and enjoy this week's topic. Cast and Camo begins now.
Good evening. Happy Sunday. Hello, Eric.
Hi, Todd. Good evening, everyone.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing peachy dandy.
You have a little tummy ache today, did you?
I'm not feeling real great, but yeah, I'm here.
Got a shot of whiskey?
No whiskey. No.
I heard that cures all the problems.
Does it? Yeah, I wish it would. I would definitely take a shot if I thought that was going to cure it.
Actually, there's this Russian vodka, I guess. No, it's not a vodka. We call it Plinky. And people swear by it. If you take one shot of Plinky, you feel so much better. I've tasted it. It's awful. It's god awful. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. Well, maybe my worst enemy, but not friends. That's for sure. Well, if you need to get up and walk away, just give me the little bit of a sign.
Yeah.
Wait, hold up. Okay. You just subscribed with your Prime? You cheap son of a bitch. It's our own show.
Well, yes. I mean, my Prime just come up, so I used it.
All right. I'm just going to tell you, I'm a tier 3 sub to this channel.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm a tier 3 sub.
If I was as rich as you, I would do it with a tier 3 sub.
Okay. Got jokes tonight? Got jokes? All right. Just a friendly reminder to everybody that's listening later on or watching on YouTube later on. We are live on Twitch under Cast and Camo every Sunday night at 7 p.m. You only get one Prime per month. Make it special. That's right, Sled. So when you hear us interacting with our chat, that's who we're interacting with. It's our friends in our Twitch chat. If you want to be a part of that and hang out and ask questions of our guests, if we have guests on, come on Sunday night, 7 o'clock on Twitch, Cast and Camo. And if you are late arriving and you want to watch us back, you can check us out on our website, ! Website, I believe. And Sarah, I'm going to ask a favor. If you can fix, I still have ! Princess. It should be ! Chick. And that's going to get everybody to our guest website. And you're going to need to check out her website because it's awesome and she's awesome. But if you want to watch us back, check us out on our website, www.castandcamotv.com or YouTube under Cast and Camo TV. You can watch all of our previous episodes on YouTube. I think on our website right now, it's only the last 12 because we're small. SMOL, I believe is how you pronounce it and spell it. So we can only put on the last 12 episodes, but on YouTube, you can see them all. Check us out on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. It's free. Subscribe, like, and comment right down there, even though I don't have anything down there, but that's what all the YouTubers do and say. So you got to be like them. We got to talk about our sponsors as always. Texas Select Seasoning. Wild Bill, chatted with him today. He was giving me some feedback on some smokers. I'm in the market for a new smoker. So, it was nice to talk to him. He's still, if Pitbull is in here and listening, we're still working on getting your giveaway out. A little bit of a miscommunication. He now has the name and address, so hopefully he'll get that sent out this week. He was kind of after me about it, but we got that taken care of. Discount code Cast and Camo in all caps on Texas Select Seasonings website, ! BBQ in our Twitch chat. in YouTube. The link will be down below. 15% off if you use Cast and Camo as your discount code in all caps. It's a fantastic discount. We've also got Sea Arc boats. Eric's rocking the Sea Arc hat tonight. I went with a low profile cap tonight, so I'm not wearing my Sea Arc. But we love us some Sea Arc, and we say it all the time. First of all, how did it become June already? How is this even possible? We're 2 days into June. We're gonna have to figure out a trip down there, probably the fall. Eric, I'm guessing we'll have to do it in the fall. Ruh-roh. Did we lose our guest? Okay. I tell you what, I'm going to stop sharing because that seems to just cause problems. So I'm going to just stop sharing. Sorry, Jaime. Sorry. You'll have to log into Twitch, or you have to go to Twitch to watch. You're gone now? On Coward Creek rating us. Wow. What's going on here? Okay. Nothing like technical difficulties. Remove, I'm gonna add you back. There we go. Are we even still live?
I don't know. Okay.
Can somebody say if we're still?
I'm showing now that we're live.
Refresh. Seems like we're still live. Everybody's talking like we're still live.
Yeah, we're live.
Okay. All right. Video Ninja, everybody. Everybody swears by Video Ninja. I looked this week to see if there was alternatives, and oofta. There's not. There's not. This is supposed to be the best there is. Anyway, where were we? We were on Sea Arc. So let's move on from Sea Arc. Deer 30, exclamation point, Deer 30 in chat. Don't forget to use your discount code Cast and Camo 24 to get what, Eric?
24%.
24 freaking percent
off.
20 Cast and Camo 24, exclamation point, Deer 30. Check them out. All right. So not last week, we had a week off for the holiday. Last time we had Katie Jo Davis from Katie Outdoors. She was a lot of fun. Cool chick. Still want to get down to go fishing with her. I think it would be a blast. Her boat, I don't know if I heard other people talking about her boat after the fact. Her boat is amazing. I want to be in that boat. It's going to be awesome. Next week, can we talk about next week on-air production meeting? I know you're going in for surgery on Monday, most likely, which means you can't eat on Sunday, correct?
Yeah, right.
Are you going to be hangry? Are you going to be cranky?
Well, are you going to be here?
I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be remote, but I'll bring everything with, and I can still do the show from where we're at.
Do you think it'll work remote up there?
Yeah, we'll give it a shot. How about we give it a shot?
I was going to say, when you get up there, why don't you give me a call and we'll test it and see if it'll work? And then we can go from there.
Sure, that definitely works. So that's next week. Now, very special moment. As always, everybody's favorite part of the show. We're going to switch over to our voicemails, or our live phone calls, I should say. And it is everybody's favorite part of the show. So we'll get the game show song going. All right. Just lining up any of the phone calls that we may have. Okay. Yeah, we have one right now, looks like. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Caller, you have called Cast and Camo. You have reached Eric and Todd. What is on your mind tonight? Who do we have on the line?
Joker.
Is this really the Joker?
Yeah.
Oh, you even gave a snort laugh a little bit there, but yeah, I guess it's the Joker. It sounds like you're out fishing, Joker. How much time do you have to talk with us tonight?
5 minutes for Joker to talk.
Oh, okay. I don't think we really need 5 minutes to talk to you, Joker, but that's good to know. We got 5 minutes. So I know you love getting out fishing. How's the fishing going so far tonight?
Joker wishes he'd get a bite, though.
Joker wishes he'd get a bite, though. Well, that sounds just about right, Eric, doesn't it? I mean, he does go out and wishes he'd get bites a lot. He doesn't really catch a whole lot of fish, though. You know, it is Joker.
Joker does not like your jokes.
Joker doesn't. Well, I'm sorry that you don't like my jokes, Joker. I think I'm pretty funny, and I thought that joke was pretty funny. So you can just move along. Let's talk about your fishing setup tonight, Joker. How are you fishing tonight?
Joker is gonna rig up a bobber rod.
Okay, a bobber rod. So you're going old school. I like it. What are you using for bait on your bobber rod?
The bluegills that Joker caught, I just put in a bag for bait.
Oh, okay. So you put the bluegill. You caught a bunch of bluegills, and you're using the bluegills for bait, and you put them in a bag. That makes sense. Now, do you use bluegills in any other spots when you're fishing, or just this spot?
Joker is gonna try it at the carp pond.
Gonna try it at the carp pond. Okay. So you're gonna fish for carp with bluegills as bait. That's interesting. Any updates? What's going on? Any updates on the fishing?
Joker says something's sinking his bobber, but not really.
Oh.
Now it's staying down.
Oh. Bobber's down. Okay. I heard the line go a little bit. What do you got, Joker? What do you got? Reel it in.
No, get in the net. You sons of bitches. Guess what I got? Oh.
Well, you're excited. How you're so excited? What in the world did you catch? Guess what you got? I don't know. Maybe you caught a big catfish. I don't know. What did you catch, Joker?
Mirror baby.
Oh,
I got it. Mirror carp.
Mirror carp. Okay. Well, congratulations. I know you've been trying for that mirror carp for a very long time. So we'll hopefully you can get that fish taken care of. Oh, okay. He hung up.
That was nice of him.
All right. Yep. That was Joker, everybody. That was Joker. Congrats on his mirror carp. Executive producer Joker is out fishing rather than producing our show. It's a little unfair, but I guess we'll see. Okay, let's see if we have any other phone calls. Yep, we got one dialed in here. Let's go. All right. Okay, get this. Pull this caller in. All right, caller, welcome to Cast and Camo. You have reached Eric and Todd. What's on your mind tonight?
Good evening, guys. Thank you for taking my call. I'm a first-time listener.
Oh, okay. We like first-time listeners and first-time callers and first-time viewers. That's great. Do we have a name? Should we just refer to you as first-time caller, or what's the scoop?
Actually, this is Laura Shera. Nice to meet you.
Oh, Laura Shera, the Laura Shera. That is holy cow. That's an honor, Laura Shera. Laura Shera, everybody, if you're not from Minnesota, you probably don't know who Laura Shera is, but Laura Shera is daughter of Ron Shera, Minnesota bound. I mean, famous. Laura, what do we owe the pleasure? Why would you be calling into our fun little show?
Well, I heard a rumor that you have Jaime the Chick of the Woods on as a guest tonight, and I felt I needed to call in to say how excited I was to hear that. She is fantastic.
She is fantastic. And the rumor is true. Jaime the Chick of the Woods is our guest this evening. And we are also super excited. And I'm very excited that you're excited. And I'm glad to hear it. And welcome to viewing the show and listening to the show.
From what I can tell, you guys are awesome, and I was going to text Jaime later to see if she could get me on your show.
Oh, yeah, definitely. First of all, yes, we are. We are awesome. Especially Eric. He's the more awesome one. But yeah, we'll get in touch. We'll make something work. I'll get Jaime to get you my information. We'll get it set up.
Great. I look forward to it. Have a great show, guys.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. All right, we got one more. It looks like we got one more call coming in. Welcome to Cast and Camo. You've reached Eric and Todd. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with at this moment?
Hi guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
My name is Morel. I also saw that you have Jaime the Chick of the Woods as a guest tonight and wanted to call in to give my perspective first.
Okay, so the rumor mill must have been spreading like wildfire. Everybody now knows or knew that we were having Jaime on tonight. And it sounds like Morel the Mushroom calling in here has a little bone to pick with Jaime, which I kind of get because she is a professional. But what's going on?
Well, I've been playing this hide and seek game with Jaime for many years now. No matter what I do, no matter what I try, she finds me.
I mean, yeah, she finds you. That's kind of her thing. Like, that's what she does. She's a professional mushroom hunter, and I'm not really sure what you would expect.
I know it's her thing. She's very good at it. But then she starts taking pictures of me like I'm some sort of model. I'm not a model, I'm a Morel. Do you think I get any of her profits? Of course not.
You're correct. You are a Morel, not a model. There's slightly different spelling. As far as the profits, I hate to breaking news to you, but you're a mushroom. So I'm not sure getting profits from Jaime would help you because you're a mushroom.
I'm just saying, I don't think she would appreciate me finding her in her home, naked, and start taking pictures of her just because she's beautiful.
Okay, I get your point. So what you're really looking for is maybe Jaime to ask permission and give you credit, when she's publishing pictures of you, give you a little bit more credit.
Exactly. So, Jaime, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to start hiding better. Like a Sasquatch. So good luck in the future, Jaime. Woman versus fungus, may the best species win.
Well, there you've heard it. The Morel mushroom is going to up its game against Jaime in the game of hide and seek. They're going to make Jaime work a little bit harder. But now, it's a good segue. Let's bring Jaime in and let's see what she thinks about the Morel mushroom calling in and talking a little smack. Oh, I gotta get Jaime in here again. There she is. Hey, Jaime. Can you hear us, Jaime? Jaime, can you hear us? I can't hear Eric either. No, I can't. No, I can't hear you either. Now I can hear Eric. Jaime, can you hear us? She can't hear us.
Jaime?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
All right. Can you hear Todd?
No.
Okay, I'll leave and come back.
No.
I'll leave and come back.
All right.
I just see you, a video of me and you.
Okay.
All right. I'll leave. I'll come back. Have Jaime just give a background
Jaime,
of herself.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would, Jaime, please.
Are we on?
Yes, you're live.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, so let's see. I grew up on a horse farm actually in Watertown, Minnesota, and always was out in the outdoors growing up, and then went to college for natural resources and did about 19 years working for water quality and conservation. And then just a couple of years ago, I quit my job to do the foraging gig.
The foraging gig. So what all does the foraging gig do?
Well, what I have made it is I guess you could consider myself a foraging educator. And so I bring people out into the woods and I teach them how to find and identify edible wild species. And I definitely mostly focus on mushrooms, but I also talk about plants and berries and nuts and other things while I'm out there too.
on mushrooms, how many edible mushrooms are there in Minnesota where you are?
Actually, I have no idea. I think I know of about 50 to 75 or so that I actually eat myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just so you know, I can see Todd now, so I don't know if I can hear him yet. But
Did you say 50 to 70 are edible?
that's about what I know. I'm sure there are a lot more than that, but yeah, that's about what I consume.
That's a lot of. See, I only knew of 2. I'm really stupid with this, and the morel is all I really cared about, them and the sheephead mushroom, which I think you guys call them different.
Right, yeah. And that's what most people say when I talk about, oh, I'm a mushroom hunter. And they're like,
Right.
oh, you pick morels? And they think that's the only mushroom out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, sheep's head, I don't know, would that be hen of the woods?
That's hen of the woods.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we don't call that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the issue with common names, but.
Right.
Well, they are weird in Kentucky, so.
Well, they're not from Kentucky. That was from Pennsylvania when I lived in PA.
They're weird in Pennsylvania too.
Well, yeah,
what do you say?
As Buzzard says, everything was started in Minnesota.
That's right.
That's right.
Yep. I don't know what I missed, but I think I'm back, and I think that screen sharing is the problem. So we're gonna just not do that anymore. Seems to always be an issue. So you gave a little bit of a background, did you?
Yes, she did.
All right.
Yeah.
So can we talk about the business, the actual business of what you do? Like go into a little bit of detail about the business.
Yeah, so I'm still figuring that out as I go. It's been now 2 years since I quit my job to do this full time. So I'm just kind of, I guess I feel like I'm just kind of playing around with things to see what sticks. But what my main business, the main thing of my business is just taking people out on mushroom hunts and bringing them out in the woods and teaching them not only how to identify mushrooms and other edible species, but like how to find them. So that's kind of a big thing. Like people, like Eric mentioned, like, oh, I hunt the morels. Well, anybody can almost identify a morel. It's what finding it, which is the hard part. So we'll go out and I'll talk about how to find them, like what kind of trees are associated with whatever mushrooms happen to be in season at that time, and go out and then as we stumble across other mushrooms, we'll talk about those as well. So anyway, I've got the in-person, in the woods hunts. I've got some online classes. I do some private hunts as well. So if people want to hire me to come to their property or maybe a woods, a park near them, I'll come and kind of go through that with them to see what edible species are out there. So that's the main portion of the business.
So you on your website, you have upcoming events, and I know we kind of talked about this earlier today. One of the events on the 9th, Little Black Walnut seminar, that's not going to be happening.
Right.
But you have on June 5th, just a few days away, you've got a tree identification class. So here's my question. I got multiple questions, but here's one of my questions. Something like this, where you're doing a tree identification class, is that out in the field, or are you in some hotel conference room where you're doing a presentation, or what does that look like?
I've done both. So I've done just in the field, and then I'll do a classroom portion and then follow it up with a walk in the woods. So this one coming up is just going to be a 2-hour walk in the woods and kind of pointing out different trees. And I don't think I'm as sciencey as a lot of the other people out there. I kind of teach people more about the tips and tricks of how to identify certain mushrooms, mushrooms. Sorry, you can tell where my
trees.
brain is. Trees, yeah. So like maybe, for example, the ash tree, the bark on ash trees have a diamond shape. So like I have this little thing where I remember them as like ash of diamonds, like ace of diamonds with a card, but ash of diamonds, like kind of tricks like that I use while I'm out there. And then especially with the trees, we talk about what mushrooms are associated with them. So most of the people taking my tree identification class are interested for the mushrooms. So I'll briefly mention which mushrooms are associated with those trees and how to identify them. But I always say you hunt for the trees and then pick the mushrooms, because the trees are probably your number one way to, if you learn your trees, that's the number one way to find more mushrooms. Especially in the case when you're out looking for a certain type of mushroom. If you're just walking through the woods looking for any old thing, you can just wander aimlessly, but most of the time you actually have something in mind that you're looking for.
So I know absolutely nothing about mushrooms, like nothing. And I kind of mentioned to you earlier, everybody's going to make fun of me. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions that everybody's going to be like, you are an idiot. How did you not possibly know that? I found morel mushrooms in my backyard probably 6-7 years ago. I had no idea what it was. I had no clue. I had never seen one in my life.
Wow.
I took pictures and sent them to the neighbor because I'm like, is this bad? Like, should I touch this? And they were like, oh my God, gimme, let me come over there and get them. Unless you want them. I'm like, no, I've never eaten a mushroom once in my entire life. I've never tasted a mushroom. Knowingly.
Oh my gosh.
Knowingly. So any question I ask is going to be dumb. So you're saying trees is the, pardon the pun, it's not really a pun, but the root of what type of mushrooms to look for and what you're going to find. So it's possible that you're not going to find the same mushroom on a elm tree versus an oak tree. That's what you're trying to tell me.
Yes.
Really? That's fascinating to me.
Well, and then there's even certain mushrooms. So for instance, there's a mushroom called the oyster mushroom, and that grows on different trees in different times of the year. So in the spring, oysters grow on aspen trees. It's a different species, but they're all oysters. So we call them the aspen oysters. Grow on aspen trees in the spring. In the summer, they grow on a bunch of different hardwoods. And then in the fall, I find them on cottonwoods and willows. So depending on the time of year, you're looking in different forests to find whatever species you're looking for.
So it's prime here in Minnesota, at least. I think Eric mentioned their morel time is kind of past. But is it prime time right now in Minnesota for morels?
No, actually it just ended. Yeah.
It just ended. I just missed it.
Yep. More for us.
So more for you. Right. Well, I'm not eating them no matter what. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should open my mind a little bit and try some mushrooms. I've never tasted one. Knowingly.
Never. Why? How do you know that you don't like them?
They scare me.
What do you think they're gonna do to you?
Well, anything in the wild. Until I suppose if I took a class with you, I would learn what's good and what's bad. Good touch and bad touch. But they scare me. Like when I see them in the woods, and I'm out in the woods a lot. I hunt. They freak me out. Like I'm afraid to that I'm gonna pick one up and it's gonna burn my fingers, or and I rub my eyes and now I've got an infection. Like I don't know what that mushroom is gonna do to me, so I just leave them alone, man. I just leave them alone.
Well, there are some mushrooms that are truly scary. I just recently I've been finding a lot of dead man's fingers. So it literally looks like dead man's fingers coming up out of the wood. So it'll just be poking up, and they can be really creepy. So those are actually kind of scary, if you will, but there are no mushrooms, at least in the United States, that will get you sick just by touching them. Potentially there's one in China that could give you a reaction if you touch it. So if you happen to take your foraging to China, you might want to double check that. But otherwise, around here, you can touch any mushroom, even no matter how gross it looks. It won't harm you at all.
Now, what about the puffy ones where you squeeze it and it goes poof, and weird stuff comes flying out? I thought those were bad for you.
No, those are, I'm assuming you're talking about the puff balls.
Probably.
Are you talking about the small ones
Yeah.
like this?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the small ones like that, but there's giant puffballs, which I've found some that big around. If you maybe you've seen those, they look like a little bit like volleyballs, I guess, if you will, out in the woods. Or they're just huge round balls, but they are completely edible. All of the puffballs are, if they're pure white inside, like a marshmallow. So when you found it and you saw the little poof come out, that's the spores. That's how they're spreading their spores. But at that point, it's too old to eat. But if you cut that open and it was pure white, like a marshmallow, you could absolutely eat that.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm learning stuff already. Okay, so about 3 years ago, I was walking through the woods where I bow hunt, and I saw this massive bright orange and yellow thing on the side of this tree. Again, I have never seen anything like it. And I walked up to it and I'm taking pictures. I'm going, I don't know what this is, but it looks like it has a pulse. Like I can see a heartbeat a little bit. It might have a brain. I'm expecting it to be some sort of an alien because it was just ginormous on this tree and it was beautiful. But I was scared. I'm not touching it. Now I've learned that that's the chicken of the woods.
Yes.
Who knew?
I don't know. I don't know how I made it up until I started mushroom until my late 20s. But I explained that one like it looks like an alien infected a tree, just like kind of smashed into a tree and grew this sort of alien body. But
so here's my question on that specific mushroom. I saw it. It was there. I didn't do anything with it. Is it going to come back?
Most likely, yes.
Really?
Yeah. So with most mushrooms, they'll come back to the same spot that you found them like the next year because that mycelium. So the mushroom that you saw is just the fruiting body of the organism, but the fungus itself is inside that tree, inside that wood. And if you compare it to like an apple on an apple tree, the mushroom is like the apple. It just fruits and then it falls off or decays. And then the next year it'll fruit again. So
really?
Most mushrooms will come
look,
back until
nobody make fun of me. I had no idea. I know nothing about mushrooms, and this is fascinating to me. So you're telling me I should have went back to the same spot where the morels were in my backyard. They've never come back. We've never seen them again.
So there's caveats to that. So they will grow there until they use up their food source. So like the chicken of the woods, that's eating the I don't know exactly the cellulose and lignin inside of that tree. And once it kind of eats all that up, then it's not going to come back. And then like the morels, once that tree completely dies, usually they're associated with dead and dying elm trees, but they can grow with other trees. They can grow anywhere. They can grow in the middle of your yard in your flower bed, but usually they're associated, we'll say, with a dead and dying elm tree. But then once that elm tree completely dies, they will not come back. So it could be that
probably explains why they didn't come back.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what is the tree that the chicken of the woods is it an oak?
I find them mostly on oak. I'll find them on ash, sometimes black cherry. I've seen a picture of one on a willow, which I've never seen in person. So they can grow on a variety, but oak is definitely the most common.
Eric, do you eat mushrooms? I don't think you do either. Oh, you do?
Yes. Yeah, I love morel mushrooms. I love all the mushrooms. Yeah, really? I'm pretty good in the mushrooms.
Have you eaten the chicken of the woods?
No, I have not.
Okay, so
the hen of the woods I have many a times, but not the chick of the woods.
I have not done any research, clearly. What's the difference between the hen of the woods and the chicken of the woods? Do they look similar? Are they similar compositions, taste?
They really have no similarities in my mind, except for the fact that they're both usually associated with oak trees. So the chicken of the woods, as you described, is a bright orange mushroom. It has yellow pores underneath. It's growing on the tree itself. The hen of the and the name chicken of the woods, it comes with that name because people say it tastes like or has the same texture as chicken. And I fully agree that you can fool people potentially that they're eating chicken by cooking up that mushroom. And I have done that in the past with somebody that my good friend, her husband hates mushrooms, and I made a chicken wild rice soup, and it was just the very last bite that he had. And he's like, wait a second, who made this soup? Like he's just like, something's a little bit off, but he ate the whole soup and he had no idea that it wasn't chicken until just a hunch at the end. So anyways, the chicken of the woods tastes like chicken. The hen of the woods looks like a chicken or a hen. So it grows at the base of an oak tree on the ground, just kind of right next to, usually within a couple feet, if not touching the tree. But they describe that as a hen chicken with their feathers kind of ruffled up, if they were to kind of fluff up their feathers from the back. So it's got all these little petals, but it's like a brownish tan colored mushroom. So they look nothing alike, but they're both really delicious mushrooms. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like the chicken of the woods, and I have a strong feeling it's because they pick them too late. So as it gets older, it'll get really dried out. And I compare it to maybe to eating a really, really overcooked chicken breast. It's just disgustingly dry. But when it's nice and young and tender, it's like a juicy, dark chicken meat. It's so good.
How do you know if it's past its prime or if it's right in its prime? Are there telltale signs?
Just, by touching it, like if it's kind of hard to the touch, then that's a sign where it should be kind of pliable and even juicy. If you cut that chicken of the woods, if it's really young, it'll drip like kind of a clear, kind of cloudy ooze. And that's a good sign.
It's a good sign of what? That it's young, or a good sign that it's time to eat it?
Young and delicious and tender, it'll be like the right stage for eating it. But if it's old and it's just hard and thin, so it has almost these like petals that grow, and the thinner the petals, the harder it is, but the fatter they are, the better it is.
I've heard somebody say that about myself, which is why I stopped working out. So,
more to love.
So when you say it's delicious, are we talking like the best thing I can think of to compare it to is like sushi? Are we standing at the tree, cutting off a chunk of this chicken of the woods that's young and delicious and juicy and throwing it right in your mouth? Or should we be cooking it? Is there a better way to do it?
That's a great question. I often forget to mention that almost all wild mushrooms need to be cooked before eating them. And chicken of the woods in particular needs to be cooked, or it will make you very sick. So another common name for chicken of the woods is called sulfur shelf. And they call it that because there's sulfur in the mushroom. And when you cook it, then that sulfur, cooks off or whatever. So you will get very sick if you don't cook that mushroom. You're not going to die, but you maybe wish that you were dead.
This is why mushrooms scare me, and this is why I don't eat them.
You could say the same about meat, right? Like if I shot an elk and just started gnawing off it, I'd probably get pretty sick from not cooking it, but just cook it up.
It depends what part of the elk you're going to eat. There's a little part of the eye right behind the pupil that you can pop out, throw it right in your mouth and eat it. There's a little sack.
Oh,
that came out wrong. I think you get it.
Well, I'll just trust you on that one.
Yeah, trust me, I'm not doing that either. No.
Okay.
Okay, so cooking it, I am getting a little sidetracked, but this is interesting to me. Cooking this chicken. So we got into the woods, found the chicken of the woods on the tree. Just pull it off. The whole thing.
Yeah. chicken of the woods is better to cut off. It really doesn't matter. It's just easier to cut it. Cut it as close as you can to the tree to not get the bark and stuff with it.
So what if I cut it like in half and only take half of it now and then go back later, or like another week or so later, or will it die because I just cut it in half?
It'll basically die. I mean, it depends on where you cut it. Like if you're just, because it'll grow in stacks, like shelves.
Yeah.
So each little shelf is kind of its own mushroom. So if you cut off a few shelves here and there, the other ones will continue to grow. But where you cut it, it's not going to continue growing where you cut it. But most of the times you want to eat, like from the day you start seeing that chicken of the woods, you'll start seeing this yellow blob growing on a tree. And it almost looks like a yellow slime mold, if you've happened to know what that looks like.
Fully aware of slime.
Okay. So once you see it growing, it's probably like 5 days later that it's about prime for eating. So you aren't going to want to wait longer to let it grow more. It's just going to get tougher and woodier the longer that you let it grow. So the sooner the better.
Okay.
Is
it like cooking a steak? Is you can cook it, or like a chicken, you cook it, and if you don't cook it long enough, now you're still going to get sick?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
It's one of the few mushrooms that we kind of stress to cook thoroughly, that you want to maybe more medium well or well done compared to other mushrooms, if you will. So just to make sure you get that sulfur cooked out of it. Most of them aren't that picky. But
I'm getting hives just thinking about it.
Morels can get you sick if you don't cook those well enough. And there have been some cases of deaths where people will eat the morels raw. So.
Oh, raw. I was going to say, just 10 minutes ago, you're telling me there's not a mushroom in North America that can kill you. And now you're telling me there's.
By touching it.
That's right. That was touching.
Big difference.
Big difference. So Eric, touch them all you want. Feel them. Squeeze them. It's like going to the grocery store. You got to feel the.
I wish you would try a morel mushroom once, because I mean, I don't know. It's just something about morel mushrooms. I love them. I would never sell or give away a morel mushroom if I only had like 12 or 15. Those would be mine, and I'd be eating them.
I mean, I'm willing to try it if it's somebody that knows what they're doing cooking it. I've been opening up my palate lately. Try new things. I'll try a morel mushroom in the right time.
Let me ask you a question on the morel mushrooms, Jamie. What tree? And I know we've already mentioned a couple of trees. What is the best tree for morel mushrooms? Because I know they'll grow around apple orchards also. Mm-hmm. Around apple trees, maybe not as much and not as often, but they seem to be around a lot of apple orchards. I've found them. Mm-hmm. Elm. What is the best tree to look for, Matt?
So I live in Minnesota, and you're in Kentucky,
right?
Okay, so. There's definitely different trees there, and I'm not an expert. I don't forage. I've never foraged in Kentucky, but for Minnesota, hands down, the dead and dying elm tree is the number one place I'm going to look. Maybe tree number 2 would be a cottonwood, like a distressed cottonwood. It can still be alive, but just kind of stressed out a little bit, or dead. And then we also find them around ash trees, and like you mentioned, apple trees. You can find different types. There's a black morel. So the typical morel we talk about, the common name would be the yellow morel or the blonde, or maybe even white morel. But the black morels, they grow around aspen trees. So here in Minnesota, aspens grow in northern Minnesota. So depending on where you are, it depends on the tree. I don't know if you have like tulip poplars. I think they grow around tulip poplar trees. Yeah. If you have those down there, I don't know if I've ever even seen one of those before.
So let me ask you, that you just mentioned the different types of morels. We get a morel, and I've seen them a lot of times with a real long stem and just a small cap on the top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you calling that, the black morel, or are you calling the little short ones that are total black the black morels?
So there are, gosh, I don't even know how many different species of morels there are. So there's in Minnesota, there's the black morels and the yellows, and then the half-free morels. And I think that might be what you're talking about with the half-free morels, where it's just a small little cap, the longer stem. Yep.
Right.
And they form more of a skirt. The cap is more like a skirt than a big fat cap that attaches down to the stem. So, but they're all completely hollow inside. If you cut them open, the true morels are completely hollow inside. So you might be talking about the half-free, but there are other species that probably grow in your area that I'm not familiar with too.
Well, I've just always been told to leave the long shanked ones, that they're not as good as eating as the white morel that gets real big and large, or the black morels seem to be the first ones to pop up.
Yeah. So yeah,
in the spring.
First of all, I mean, there's no reason to leave those half-free morels if that's what it is. I would absolutely eat those up. And true, they might not be quite as good as the other morels, but they're absolutely worth bending down and picking and sautéing.
Bending down's a lot of work at that age, though.
Right? Maybe it's not worth it then. But the black morel, the difference between a black and a blonde or white, yellow, the blacks have the black ridges, and then the pits are actually a lighter color, whereas the blondes have a light ridge and then darker pits. So that's kind of the main difference. The blacks are a lot smaller around here too. So
right.
Okay. So we have a question from our chat. Can you grow these mushrooms? Can you plan this out and grow whatever it is? Let's just go back to the chicken of the woods or the hen of the woods or whatever it might be. Is there something I can do as a normal person, if I have that type of a tree, to cause this mushroom to grow?
Yeah, that depends on which mushroom you're talking about in particular. So there are some that are more easy to grow than others. And for morels, that they are definitely working on that. You can actually purchase kits that supposedly, you can grow morels in your backyard. From what I understand, they aren't near as tasty, and they're like hardly any will grow. So it's not like worth it for the money, but they're getting a little bit of success. And I think in Denmark, they're getting a little more success. So they're getting there, but it's very complicated. Some people will even take their morels and they'll make a slurry out of them. So they'll take kind of the caps and mix it in some water, and they kind of spread it out in their yard. And sometimes morels will grow up at, where they poured them. So it's possible.
That's what I was just going to ask you about the spores. How do you handle yours with the spore? You know how they always tell you to put them in the bag where the spores will come out of the bag. Do you feel that's true? Not true? I mean,
it's definitely going to make the spores spread more. So what you're asking is, do I use a mesh bag to spread the spores as I'm walking around? And to be honest, no, I don't. I don't worry too much about that. It's always like, I gotta say, like, if you want to do the forest solid and spread those spores for it, go ahead and you can do that. There is no harm in trying. The success of that has just not really been proven. And the thing is that the mushrooms are already releasing the spores before you pick them, and the spores are so light that just the blowing of the wind is going to take them so far. And so I've
heard so many pluses and minuses. That's why I just wanted to ask you, because I never used to do it either.
Yeah.
So
the only thing I recommend is I don't think you should use a plastic bag if you're going to be out there for any length of time. If you're just out there for an hour and it's not too hot, sure, you can use a plastic bag. But otherwise, that can kind of degrade the mushrooms just because they're not able to breathe very well. So I always recommend using a cloth bag or a basket. Baskets are much nicer for keeping the mushroom in a good shape so they're not getting squished. So if you have a bag, maybe it's bouncing on your side, they're just going to kind of get squished a little bit. But so, yeah, I mean, it just hasn't proven that we're actually making that much of a difference, but there's no harm in doing it. The mesh bags, in my mind, they do get caught on a lot of things. Like if you're walking through a forest that has maybe prickly ash or buckthorn or just a lot of underbrush, it can get frustrating when they get hooked on things like that. And they can grate your mushrooms a little bit as you like, just kind of as they're moving around in there. So a basket is preferred, and that would, allow the spores to spread too. So it's kind of a preference thing. I don't believe it's making that much of a difference, but I'll do it if somebody can prove that it is.
Well, I didn't know if it's ever been proven. That's why I wanted to ask you if you've heard anything.
I mean, yeah, the spores will spread. There's a mushroom that's kind of spreading around here. There's grow at home mushroom kits, and there's something called a golden oyster, and that recently has been spreading throughout the United States. I'm not sure where it's all gotten to yet, but so somebody grew this mushroom at home and probably threw it out in their compost or even in their garbage can, and the spores got out and they spread into the forest. And now we've got this invasive mushroom kind of taking over the woods. So it doesn't take much to spread those little spores.
Right.
And I mean, it's hard to know exactly what harm that's going to cause an invasive mushroom, but they're edible. So it's.
Oh, I mean, and don't take the, again, I'm a dumbass when it comes to mushrooms. Aren't all mushrooms kind of invasive?
I guess I don't know what you mean by that. I don't think so.
Well, what would make that invasive? Just because it's not natural to the North America? Or it's a synthetic version of a mushroom?
Yeah. So yeah, non-native and invasive are kind of terms that I sometimes interchange. So for one, it's non-native. The golden oyster is non-native. And then so that you can have non-native plants and animals and mushrooms, but if they're not causing a problem, if they're not spreading a lot, they're not actually invasive. But this mushroom is pretty invasive. Like when you find it kind of takes over areas, and it's maybe taking over trees where other mushrooms would have grown. It's just hard to know how much that's actually impacting anything yet.
Right.
So what is the best mushroom to eat?
I changed
That's
my answer
subjective.
quite a bit.
I want to know if she's eating 50 or has a possibility of 50 to 70 mushrooms, different types of mushrooms in the woods that are edible. I'm just interested to see what you think the best mushroom is.
So I would say hen of the woods is actually one of my favorites. I love that mushroom.
I do too.
It's so good when it's just young and so that one's one of my favorites. Black trumpet is up there too. I haven't found it that often, so I think it's kind of that nostalgia or whatever, finding it and like not getting that much of it.
What's the black trumpet? I've never heard of that. So
yeah, it's a funnel shaped mushroom that is the exact color of dirt. And so it's low, grows on the ground, low to the ground. So if you aren't paying attention, it looks exactly like dirt or a crumpled up leaf, which I think is why I hardly ever find them. But it's an interesting mushroom. It's like it is a trumpet shape, kind of like a fluted trumpet shape. And it's got a really unique taste that I can't describe. But if you smell it, I picked a bag of these and I put my nose in there and it smelled like Fruity Pebbles to me. It's crazy. It smelled delicious. So yeah,
Love
a
Fruity
lot
Pebbles.
of mushrooms have different smells to them.
Didn't know that either, but I like Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah.
So hey, maybe that's the one I gotta go hunting for that.
do you still eat Fruity Pebbles, Todd?
Hell yeah, I eat Fruity Pebbles.
Do you really?
Absolutely.
I cannot see you sitting down at the kitchen table pouring a big bowl of Fruity Pebbles.
Oh, bowl? No. You got to get one of those big Tupperware bowls. and you just dump as much in there as you can. That's how you
I
eat
was
Fruity
just-
Pebbles.
I was pet sitting somewhere a couple months ago and they had Fruity Pebbles and I had to have some. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been, God, I don't want to, how many decades since I've had them, but they're just as good as I remember them.
Tell you what, there's nothing better than sitting down for breakfast, having a big bowl of Fruity Pebbles and a glass of Tang.
Oh, yeah.
Tang is where it's at. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Tang is still good.
Can you do that again? That was pretty good. I
right.
like that.
You're telling me not to drink my Tang, eat my Fruity Pebbles. I'm going to eat my Fruity Pebbles however I want. Tang is great. All right, Kate. So I have at least one more question on mushrooms before we move on, because there's other things I want to talk to you about than mushrooms.
What else is there?
Yeah, what else is there?
Maybe there's not. I don't know. How much mushroom paraphernalia things do you have in your house? I see the pillows. I can't really make them out, but I can tell they're mushrooms on those pillows behind you.
Yeah, that's a quilt. The quilt.
Oh, it's a quilt. Okay.
Yeah. My dad's girlfriend made me that quilt and another mushroom quilt. And I've got, in sight, I can see a walking stick. I can see a mushroom that has legs. My friend makes mushrooms with legs. It's a really sexy mushroom, and a pottery mushroom that my neighbor makes. and I've got antler carved morels. I can see antler carved morels right here, which you guys might appreciate if you can see. This is there's little morels carved on the ends of these antlers.
That's pretty
Wow.
cool. That's a neat idea. I like that.
That is awesome.
There's a lot, and I just got a present a couple days ago of a mushroom wind chime. I don't buy myself mushroom stuff because it's people just get me mushroom stuff, so it's great.
I'm picturing mushroom comforter,
Oh,
mushroom
yes.
pillows, mushroom sheets, mushroom slippers.
Little mushrooms there. You can see.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Interesting. Okay, so is there no other topics? Like, can we not talk about like berries? Can we talk berries?
Can. Yeah, I forget about the other things.
Mushrooms just kind of whisks her away.
Yeah, I definitely specialize in the mushrooms, and as I've been, foraging for mushrooms, it's just I've expanded into the berries and plants, but mushrooms are my true love. Yeah, so we can talk a little bit about those things.
Well, before we move on, there is a question in chat, so I'm going to read the question, but then it made me think of something. So the question is, I live in northern BC, Canada. First of all, awesome, because it's beautiful there. Do you know anything about the mushrooms up here, or do you know of any reliable materials that I can find that will tell me what is up here?
Where is Canada again? I'm just kidding. No, I'm just being an American that doesn't know anything about, outside of our little area. No, to be honest though, I'm not familiar. I've never even been to Canada. So
do you interact? Do you network with other like professional foragers around the country, around the continent? That like, I don't know. Do you go to like mushroom conventions, like Mushroom Con, MushCon? Is there a MushCon?
I do. I don't travel that far, but before I answer that, like I just want to tell that person that they probably have a mycological society in their area. So if they can Google mycological societies, that's a great place for people, no matter where you live. There's got to be some sort of mushroom club that goes out and does these little mushroom hunts.
Didn't you say that they're around ash trees a lot? I'm sure they have a ton of ash trees in Canada.
Oh, yeah, they do grow around ash.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's what I'm saying. I imagine they probably do have some really good places to look for mushrooms.
Sure,
but it's later than ours.
Yeah, you're saying that's just for morels, though. There's so many other mushrooms.
Yeah,
so like
true.
Spring is honestly kind of at the slow time. Morels come in May, at least around here. But spring is a lot less diversity than summer and fall. So summer and fall is definitely where it's at. You'll get a lot more diversity, a lot more abundance, and it's just honestly more fun to be foraging during that time.
Right.
Because there's kind of like maybe 5 main edibles in spring, but then in the summer and fall, it's just endless. So yeah, they've got probably more coniferous trees up there too, or actually, I'm not sure, but I mean, morels can grow with pine trees too. So if they're looking for that, so I would just look for a mushroom club around that area. I'm
Right.
sorry, I can't help with that, but.
Well, we'll let it pass this time.
But yeah, otherwise I do go to, like, if there's like mushroom festivals. I haven't traveled too far outside of Minnesota and Wisconsin, but I would need to start branching out for sure.
Okay, so we have another question. Is wild ginger, American ginseng, and fiddleheads popular in Minnesota? And if so, is there a concern about over-harvest?
Wild ginger, ginseng, and what was the other thing?
Fiddleheads.
Oh, okay. So ginseng is definitely, that I believe you have to get like a permit in order to harvest that, because that can easily be over harvested because you're actually picking the root. When you pick ginseng, you're picking the root. So that means you're completely killing that plant and removing it. So that I've not harvested ginseng myself. But you do have to be super careful about that one. Fiddleheads are a little bit of a different story. So fiddleheads are ferns that it's just the stage of a fern. So before they open up into the big fern leaf, it's just this little tight, it looks like a fiddlehead. And so you can eat them at that stage. And so fiddleheads aren't as concerning about over harvesting, because what you do typically is you'll take maybe half of the fiddleheads that are growing, and the plant will still survive. And in fact, it's fairly hard to kill. We eat the ostrich ferns around here. That's the most common fiddlehead, and they can grow like crazy. So they'll spread and kind of take over an area. So those are not as concerning about over harvesting. And wild ginger, I don't know of a lot of people that harvest that much of it. So I don't know of that one having any sort of concern about being over harvested, but it's really hard to harvest plants anyway, because the public lands don't allow you to pick plants. We can only pick mushrooms, nuts, and berries, because you're not actually harming what it's growing from. You're not harming the plant or whatever. But if you're picking a plant, it's potentially harming the plant, or in this case of ginseng or ramps, if you're picking the root or the bulb, you're killing it. So you have to find private land for that if you're going to harvest plants.
Okay, so that actually rewinds me back towards the beginning. There was a question that I had that I don't think I got to ask. When you're doing these private groups, do you have land that you're taking these people out on, or are you on somebody's land that you know of and have permission, or are you just finding random state land and if you go to state land, can you even technically harvest mushrooms on state land?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, like I said, mushrooms, nuts, and berries, state land is totally fine with harvesting that, as long as you're not harvesting to sell. So you're not going to sell it.
No black market.
Right.
Okay.
So there's no harm in that. So when I bring my groups out, most of the time it's public land, like a state park. That's kind of the most common. Otherwise, sometimes I'll go to a retreat center or some place that has public or private land, but it's a business already, just for legality reasons. It gets a little bit more complicated to go onto private land. So
unless that group is bringing you onto that land.
Yeah.
That's
If it's a private hunt, yes, absolutely. If you have land and you want to have me out to go onto your land, yeah, absolutely.
Does that excite you?
Yes.
Like I can imagine it would, because it's uncharted. You've never been there. You've never seen it. And you might find something you haven't found in a while, or what. I would imagine it's like a little Chris Farley running So excited.
Well, yeah, and anytime, yeah, you get access to private land, it's so exciting because you just imagine the mother lode is going to be there because nobody's been there, nobody's been harvesting, they're going to be everywhere, and yeah, you just have no idea what to expect. So I absolutely love it. I get nervous, like if you were to hire me to come to your land, like I don't, maybe necessarily know what kind of trees and uh, you know plants you have out there, so there might not be a whole lot, but it might just be
That's what
amazing
you find
too.
out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
There's always
I'm
something.
absolutely going to hire you because I have a group, and so that's going to happen. But I came up with another idea based on the question that came up in our chat. What if we organized? This is me thinking off the top of my head, Eric. What if we organized a virtual class with Jamie, and we get people from our friends from Twitch that are interested to sign up, and we go out and do it live with Jamie, and because you're right now you're really reaching people that are local to Minnesota, and we could bring in a whole bunch of other people. That would be kind of fun.
That would be really fun. I don't know how to make that happen, but you guys, if you can figure out how to make that happen, I would love that.
Okay. I'll noodle on that. See if we can figure something out. I think that would be interesting. I mean, we're getting kind of a free class right now, except for the money that I have to pay Jamie later, but it said we would talk about that later.
Right.
Get me Laura Shara. We'll talk.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Controversial topic. Psychedelic mushrooms. I'm assuming you're certified. You're professional. You know the difference between a non-psychedelic mushroom and a psychedelic mushroom. And I've been hearing a lot lately about microdosing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you know about the psychedelic mushrooms? And I'm not saying if you don't, whatever. I kind of want to know the difference between those and the mushrooms that we've been talking about for the last hour. And if you have any information or knowledge, and I know you're not a doctor and you're not giving out any professional advice,
Mm-hmm.
is microdosing possibly a good thing?
So let's see. I am not very experienced with the psychedelics.
Okay.
I very much focus on the common edible mushrooms out in the woods, and all I can tell you what I know, which isn't a lot, but there's not a lot of the psychedelic mushrooms that people would buy for a regular mushroom trip. They don't grow in Minnesota very commonly. There might be 1 or 2 different species that grow here that have that psilocybin in them. The one I come across fairly often is called Big Laughing Jim, and that doesn't have the psilocybin in it. It has some other compound in it that I can't remember at the moment. I have tried them once, so I'm not real experienced with them either. And I didn't have like a real extreme trip. It was a really nice experience where I just was really happy and kind of giddy, but nothing was moving around. It wasn't a crazy
No trolls on trains coming at you with pitchforks and tails.
No, but being in the mushroom business, I know a lot of people, and of course it's a topic that gets brought up all the time. So like I just did the mushrooms for the first time last summer. So it's fairly recent, and I've been a little bit nervous to try it, but the more people I talk to, like I hear nothing but positive things about how many great experiences people have had either on the microdosing or just tripping on them, how it like actually changes their lives. And of course people can have bad trips, but all in all, it just seems like the benefits of it far outweigh the potential for a negative trip. So I am, I'm only going off of what I've heard, but I am definitely interested in dabbling with it more. And I know it can help with certain, anxiety and depression. And I might drink a little too much. So, I've heard that you can take mushrooms and kind of try to get yourself to help quit drinking, which, would be cool. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. Oh, well, kind of. Now, the technical part, the actual composition. You said a word, and I've heard the word, and I'm not going to try to repeat the word. Psilocybin? Is that what it is?
Psilocybin.
Psilocybin.
Yeah.
What makes that present in those mushrooms and not other mushrooms? Like, could I potentially go out somewhere and stumble upon a mushroom and be like, oh, okay, go home and cook it up and eat it, and I start seeing trolls and gnomes? Is that possible? Is it possible to come across unknowingly mushrooms in the wild here that are laced with that?
So like I said, I think there's 1 or 2 that have the psilocybin in them in Minnesota. But the thing is, with mushroom hunting, nobody eats a mushroom they're not 100% positive, or you shouldn't. So you're not going to just go around tasting mushrooms and see what happens to you. So, no, there's just certain species of mushrooms that have that chemical in them. Like we were talking about, the chicken of the woods has sulfur in it. Other mushrooms don't have sulfur. There's a mushroom, this type called the false morel, which has monomethylhydrazine in it.
That's a lot of big words.
Yeah, so it's like, it's a compound in rocket fuel. And so some of those mushrooms have more of that monomethylhydrazine than others, depending on what species of this false morel that you have. So I don't think I don't think there's a chance that a regular edible morel is all of a sudden going to have psilocybin in it. That's not going to happen.
Okay.
You just have to find the right species that has that. So I think it's kind of interesting. We have a store in Jordan here. It's a THC dispensary, but they also have a mushroom store. So it's illegal to sell mushrooms that have psilocybin in them, but there's other compounds in mushrooms that can get you high, like this amatoxin.
Hold on, I'm taking notes.
So they can actually sell that mushroom. They haven't illegalized that compound. And I'm sorry if I don't know about these that well, but they sell mushrooms that can get you high at the store, because that's not illegalized, but it's that psilocybin that is illegal. And
so if there are 2 mushrooms in Minnesota, at least, that you know of that have that, do you know what they are and have you found them?
And I have found other mushrooms. There's one called Big Laughing Jim. And so I found plenty of that, and that'll get you high too. It doesn't have the psilocybin. It has something else in it that gets you high. So I know people that have taken that one, and it's just not as potent, or it doesn't get you as high as the others. It's a slightly different experience, but it sounds like it's pretty entertaining.
People.
Yeah.
I like that. I like how you did that. So, so you're saying you have people that that are in your world, your mushroom world, that deal more with those psychedelic mushrooms. Is it going to be like, in conversations with them? I think this is kind of fascinating too. Is it going to be like weed is now, where you can take one type of weed and you're mixing it with this type of weed? Now you got strawberry daiquiri weed that you can smoke, allegedly. Mm-hmm. Is it going to get to the point where you can do the same with mushrooms, where you can take one type of mushroom that has psilocybin in it and another type of mushroom that has it, and kind of mix breed them? Mm-hmm. That was actually, I'm not going to take credit for that question. It came from Sled in our chat. But I think it's a really good question. Can you breed mushrooms?
Yeah, there's a lot. I do know quite a few people that actually grow the psilocybin mushrooms here. So they don't necessarily grow in the wild that commonly, but it's pretty common for people to grow them. You can purchase the spawn, and you can't purchase the mushrooms, but you can purchase the spawn and you can grow them yourself. So there are a lot of different types of mushrooms that will give you a different high than this other type of mushroom. So penis envy is one that comes to mind. That's a fairly common psychedelic mushroom. So they have different names for different mushrooms that give you different types of highs.
I'm assuming that mushroom doesn't make your penis bigger.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Maybe in your mind it looks bigger once you take it. That could be it.
Or even better, your date's mine. That's
Yeah,
really all
right.
that matters, right?
Right, for sure.
Eric, I'm going to send you some. You can give them to Pam. Oh, shit. Oh, it's an interesting, because I remember growing up and in high school a long time ago, it was kind of taboo. Like mushrooms were a taboo thing if you were the psychedelic ones, not the regular ones. And now it seems like it's kind of coming out like, hey, this is actually helpful for mental health. And I
Yes.
know a bunch of people that have started doing microdosing, and it's fascinated me. It's crazy. And at first when one of my friends told me that they were doing it, I was like, dude, what? No, you can't be doing mushrooms every day. He's like, no. Like, okay. And he's like, best thing I've ever done. Best decision he's ever made.
And these aren't like druggy people that are taking them. Like it legit, it helps,
Yeah.
And yeah.
Okay. Berries. Can we talk berries?
Sure.
They all look so delicious. They all do. They're so cute and pretty and colorful and like, ooh, a berry. But I'm learning, ooh, piece of candy. They're not all good for you, right? Like you need to know the difference between what berry you're picking and popping in your mouth.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, as you say this, like it makes me think of like people always say that about mushrooms. Like, well, there's some mushrooms that can kill you. Well, there's berries that can kill you and plants that can kill you too, or make you sick. So
yeah, any vegetables can kill you.
Right.
That's why I don't eat them. So berries. What's the best berry out there? That grows in abundance and it's tasty and it's not going to poison you.
So like, well, I think raspberries would probably be agreed on as being
Almost
some of the
don't
best.
count.
They're wild.
Are
There's
they?
wild? Yes.
Okay.
So there's a whole lot of different types of berries that look like raspberries, but there might be it's like a slightly different name to it, like thimbleberry or black. There's blackberries and black raspberries and red raspberries and basically anything that looks like a raspberry is
Snozberries. Don't forget snozberries.
Yeah. But one of my favorites, I guess, is mulberry, actually, because mulberries are, they grow for a long time. Their season is really long, and you can find a bunch of them, and they're not that hard to pick. They don't have the thorns on them, like raspberries and stuff. You have to get your hand all beat up and stuff. So I love mulberries. That's probably one of my favorites. I have some, most of them are invasive, but there are some native ones, but they grow quite a bit around here because they are invasive. So me and my dog like to eat them on our walk through town.
Wait, you can give them to your dog?
Yeah. She's a lab. She eats anything.
Maybe that's why she breathes so heavy. Too many berries.
She is 15 and a half. So
Wow.
Maybe that's what's keeping her going.
Maybe. Eric, you better start eating mulberries.
I guess. I think blackberries are the best. I love blackberries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love berries. They scare me too in the wild. When I'm walking through the woods, like hunting, and you see these trees and they've got these awesome looking berries, and you're like, oh, I'm kind of hungry. But I don't, because I'm too scared that it's going to poison me or make me sick.
Well,
are there ones that we should stay away from?
Well, yeah, but like there's some that are safer than others, like the raspberries, like if it looks like a raspberry, you're good to go. But then the other berries, it gets a lot more complicated, I guess, kind of the more just plain round looking berries. There's a lot of different poisonous ones. So, I mean, the thing with foraging is you just learn one at a time. There's really no hard and fast rule. Like people will ask, well, I've heard that if a mushroom grows on wood, that it's safe to eat or whatever. It's like, no. Or if it stains blue, it's poisonous. No, it's really kind of a slow process, but just one at a time. And I don't know how to describe it, but it's a fun, never-ending learning process for sure.
What about? Okay, we've covered mushrooms, we've covered berries. What about moss? Is there any benefit to moss?
I don't know.
You don't go looking for moss? Like this is a different kind of moss? No.
Can't say I know a single thing about eating moss. I like laying on moss, and I like taking pictures of mushrooms as they grow in moss. I'm assuming that they're edible. Yeah.
I have no idea. What else? What else can we forage? Berries, mushrooms. What else? Bark? Can you eat some bark?
Yeah, there's parts of bark that are like more edible than others. I haven't eaten bark either. But like pine cones, like right now, pine cones are kind of a big thing. So if you take the pine cones before they turn into like a hard woody pine cone, when they're young and they're green, you can pick those and put them in a jar with like brown sugar and it turns into this syrup. Like that's a common thing that you can do with berries, or like leaves or needles on trees. So the basswood leaves are edible. If you know basswood trees, those are a fine tasting leaf to eat. And then like needles, when like now we're just getting past the spruce tip season, but there's still some spruce tips out there. A lot of the tender parts of the new growth on spruce trees, the very end, you can pick those off and you can make things with that, like
tea
to eat or to tea. Yeah, you can make a tea out of it, or I've made an ice cream out of spruce tips. A lot of people use them with baking, or you can even season like your meat or vegetables with it. It's got an interesting like citrus flavor to it.
Yeah. See, now I'm reading some of the questions from chat, and I always worry, depending on who's asking the question, if it's being asked for me to ask you the question and they're laughing, knowing that either the word is something completely different, because I have no idea. But chaga? What about chaga? What's chaga?
Chaga's a mushroom.
Okay.
Chaga is a medicinal mushroom, and that mushroom grows on birch trees. So this is the thing. I don't have the best memory, and medicinal qualities are really hard for me to remember, but I think it might be good for arthritis and your immune system. But anyway, it's this mushroom that grows on birch. It looks like charcoal, and it takes several years for it to grow. So this is one of the only mushrooms, I think, in Minnesota that they've told us that we aren't allowed to harvest on public lands, because people have been harvesting it so much for the medicinal qualities and selling it as well. So you can take that and you can make what people normally do is just make a tea out of it and drink it. It's like sort of similar to coffee. Yeah, coffee or tea.
Eric, have you had chaga? He's saying no. He's muted, but he said no.
It's not that bad.
No. I did it because the dog was barking.
Oh, yeah, you're fine. You're good. Okay, another question coming in from chat. Is inner willow bark an aspirin?
Yeah, I think I've heard that. Yeah.
Look, people like me are going to believe anything you say. So you could say, yeah it's like an aspirin. It'll take you away your headache just like that. And I'll believe you.
I'm just not that, like I said, I'm not that into plants where I'm starting to learn about that stuff, but I don't know a whole lot about that. So I don't want to say much. Yes, fine. But there is something on the inner, I couldn't remember. I couldn't have told you that it was willow. Like if somebody asked, what is aspirin from? But yeah.
Okay. I'm posting your link in our chat again for your website. Everybody go check out chickofthewoods.com. get in. We gotta form a class. We have to. I think it'd be a blast, and let's get as many people as we can because it's all going to be virtual. And I think it'd be a blast, and we're going to learn a lot. I've learned a ton tonight. I mean, I'm almost teetering on the fact that I might try a mushroom now.
That's awesome.
And that's a big deal. I think I would trust you. So if we ever connect and you can pop my cherry.
I'd love to pop your mushroom cherry. Yes.
All right. Yes.
So yeah, I always like to clarify, like, like there's obviously a few things that I don't know the answer to. I feel like a better instructor for the beginners. I don't know, like when we go out there, I promise you there will be mushrooms I don't know and plants I don't know. And I mean, there are some people out there that they know the scientific name to every single mushroom that grows out there. So I definitely specialize in the more common edible mushrooms, nuts, berries, and whatnot. So
you know what we call those people, Jamie?
What?
Nerds.
I was gonna guess that. Yes, they're definitely mushroom nerds. I don't just can't remember all the things. Like I'll have to learn, some people are, I have to hear it 3 times. Like, no, I have to hear it like 30 times. But I just happen to be so obsessed with foraging that, I'm out there all the time. So I do know as much as I know, but there's people, that have been doing it less than half the time I have, and they can just remember things better. But like I always tell my classes, I'm like, if I don't know it after 17 years, like it's probably not like an amazing mushroom or plant to be eaten, at least not for beginners. And, so just throwing that out there, especially like now with all this rain that we've been having, there's so many little mushrooms popping up that they're just too small to eat anyways. So I'm personally not as interested in like remembering all the scientific names of those mushrooms someday. But
so those ones that are growing in my grass in my backyard right now from all the rain, those little white ones that pop up, can you eat those?
There's quite a few different white ones that pop up in people's yards, but white mushrooms that grow on the ground with gills, like they're typically ones to stay away from. So I always say there's like 2 main deadly mushrooms that we see fairly often. And one of them is a white-gilled mushroom that grows on the ground. It's called a destroying angel. So for beginners, just don't eat any white-gilled mushrooms that grow on the ground. And then there's also the deadly Galerina. That's a little brown mushroom that has gills, and that grows on wood, decaying wood. So also like little brown mushrooms, we just kind of stay away from little brown mushrooms. So I like to talk about the mushrooms that are easier to identify, like morels don't have any real true lookalikes, or chicken of the woods. Like they're easy. You're not going to mistake it. If you know just a couple things about that mushroom, they're safe to eat. And I get nervous too, eating mushrooms that I've never eaten before. It's just like you need to know 100% what it is and get comfortable with it before you just go eating mushrooms. And is there psilocybin in this one, or is there?
Well, yeah, I'm not doing that. No. Our smart Alec from chat says gills are like heavy striations on the underside of a shroom. I kind of figured that out on my own because I've seen them. But thanks for the input, Joker. He's
well, yeah, I kind of forget that it's not common knowledge that some mushrooms have gills and some have pores and some actually have teeth that hang down, and morels have cups, and like they're all different. Yeah.
Not eating anything that has teeth. Unless it's an animal.
Oh, my Lord.
No. A freaking mushroom has teeth? You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah. Like if you've heard of lion's mane mushrooms, maybe. It actually looks more like icicles. They hang down, but we call them teeth. Or a hedgehog mushroom has teeth. So when you look under the cap, there's little spikes that shoot down.
See, mushrooms scare me. I don't trust them, man. But I'm willing to try. And everybody was making fun of me when I said I'm expanding my palate. And they say that they were making fun of me because just this past week, I tasted carrot cake for the very first time in my life. And it was all right.
It didn't taste like a carrot, right?
It didn't.
Is that why you haven't eaten it, because of the name, carrot?
Yes.
And you probably haven't had zucchini bread either?
Oh, hell no. My daughter makes it and she loves it, but I'm not touching it. No.
So good.
Carrots belong in a garden and in a salad or just raw, not in a cake. Like potato pancakes. You ever had potato pancakes? Of course you have. You're from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
They're not good at all. You can't take
Oh,
potatoes and mix them with pancakes. They're two wonderful things completely on their own.
You just need more butter and salt then.
Man, I don't know. But I'll try carrot cake again. It's cheesecake, same thing, man. I don't. Cheese belongs on a cheeseburger, not in a cake. It just weirds me out.
I need to be with you when you try your first mushroom. This is the thing that's got to happen.
Okay, I trust you.
Maybe the chicken of the woods is kind of a good one for beginners that don't. I mean, you don't even know if you don't like them, so that's the weird thing. But if you like chicken, there's a good chance you'll like the chicken of the woods. I like to make my favorite, because I'm not a chef. I like things to be easy and simple, but buffalo chicken chicken of the woods strips is awesome. Just saute up the chicken of the woods, add the buffalo sauce and dip it in blue cheese, and it's fantastic. It really is.
Okay. I'm willing to try it. Buffalo chicken of the woods.
Yeah.
And you said you're not a chef. I don't know about this. All right. Well, I'm willing to give it a shot. We'll talk. Maybe we can get together and you can force me to eat some mushrooms, and maybe we can do it live or something. People can watch and point fingers and laugh as I gag, or not. Maybe it's so delicious and I've been missing out my entire life. Who knows?
Usually it's a texture thing with people. I don't know if you have an issue with foods having certain textures, but I think it's more the texture than the taste for people.
I'm weird. I'm just weird. I eat shrimp. Hey, lobster. Like, I eat things that are rubbery. I don't know.
There is a
so
shrimp
far off the
of the
track.
woods mushroom also.
Shut up. Really?
Yeah. There's
Shrimp of the woods.
There's Salisbury steak of the woods.
Now we're getting crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of the woods out there.
So you're going to tell me the shrimp of the woods tastes like shrimp and the Salisbury steak tastes like Salisbury steak?
Yes.
We need a cake of the woods mushroom. That's what we need. A cupcake of the woods.
We have a candy cap mushroom.
Okay. Now we're talking.
Yeah, it smells like maple syrup, and you can make like sweet treats out of it. It's amazing.
Mix it with maple crown.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah,
See?
absolutely.
We're inventing new things right here in Cast and Camo Live. Crazy. Eric, how about you? Any follow-up questions? Anything that we have not touched on with Jamie that you wanted to touch on?
No, my biggest thing was the type of trees. I wanted to go over the type of trees with some of the mushrooms. Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing a lot of people have is, where do I find them? How do I find them?
Yeah.
What time of the year do you find them? And like here, it's when the May apples get up and they're about a foot high. Then our mushrooms are usually starting in the woods. That's how I go by it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And when you say mushrooms, again, you mean morels, right?
morels,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. But there's like every month there's like new mushrooms that grow. And so May is, of course, morels and oysters and pheasant backs and a few others. June is a pretty slow month, actually. That's probably the slowest month for mushrooms. I don't have any mushroom hunts in June, but then July, August, September, October, depending on what mushroom you're looking for, you look for different trees. So you might hit an oak forest, or you might hit the river bottoms, and that's
Well, ours was always in archery season back in PA for Hen of the Woods. In October, the month of October. That's when we were finding them on the bottom of the oak trees, the big old oak trees.
Yep.
So, yeah.
They start in August up here and then go through October.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think that's what I need, a spreadsheet to bring with me when I go into the woods, like time of month. I'm very organized, so I want a spreadsheet to break them down by the time of year, the month, the tree, what I'm looking for. So if you could just, make that happen, that'd be cool.
Well, the biggest thing is learning the type of trees. I think is one of the biggest things you need to do before you start looking for mushrooms. And I don't know how well the apps are on the cell phones. So they have identification tree apps on cell phones where you can take a picture, but I have had it give me the wrong tree.
Right.
Yeah. Things. So you got to be really careful that you're not looking at something that that needs to be advanced a lot. Them apps that they have.
I agree, but I also hope that people never end up just relying on an app to identify something, especially if you're going to eat it. So there are some apps that I think are better than others for plant ID or even mushroom ID. Right. But I always think it's a good way to, it'll give you a suggestion, so if it says this is the elm tree, then I would take it to a book or the internet, and you should have like 3 different reliable sources that agree on what it is.
What it is, yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, trees are definitely, like I said, the number one most important thing. And luckily, when I went to college for natural resources, and trees there was a class called dendrology, the study of trees. So like all college kids, you have posters up in your room, right? And so I had posters of tree silhouettes. That's what I had on my wall because I was so obsessed with identifying trees, just the shape, so I could. Right. So when I look out at a forest, I can look at the shape and have a pretty good idea of what that tree is just by the shape of it. And sometimes even like the slight shade of green, the different trees have different shades of green with their leaves, and I get obsessed.
If I plant a palm tree in my backyard, is there any chance it survives?
I think I've seen a palm tree at a bar that was planted outside, and I think it would maybe survive a few years, but I don't think it's in it for the long haul. Maybe if you cover it, but give it a shot. Let me know.
No. I want you to try it first. You're the expert.
I don't plant things. That's why I forage, so I don't have to take care of anything. I cannot stand growing things, taking care of things, weeding things, and yeah.
Samesies. Not my bag.
No.
All right. Well, I mean, we're at probably an hour and a half-ish. Well, we're a little over an hour and a half. So I'm getting that's the eye wink from Eric saying, I gotta pee. I gotta pee. I gotta pee. Jaime, can't thank you enough for joining us. I was excited. I knew a lot of people were looking forward to this conversation. I think a lot of people were interested in it. And we're definitely going to try to figure something out how we can get a class put together.
Cool.
And do it virtually with you. I think that would be phenomenal. I would love it. Can't forget to thank our sponsors once again, Texas Select Seasonings, ! BBQ in chat. To get that link to Texas Select Seasonings website, cast in camo in all caps to get 15% off. Sea Arc Boats, I think it's ! Sea Arc. Yes, it is. To check out the Sea Arc boats. They got new boats coming out every year, and they're awesome. And Deer 30, ! Deer 30 gets you to the link. It's summertime. We need to get your minerals out there for the deer to eat. You're late, but it's never too late. Get on that Deer 30, Cast and Camo 24 to get 24% off your order. It's a huge discount. Use it. They're good dudes. And we thank all of our sponsors. And we thank everybody for tuning in tonight and hanging out for a while and listening after the fact. So again, Eric, any final thoughts from you?
No. Thank you for being here, though. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was
Absolutely. All right. We'll see everybody next Sunday night. Bye.